4, 3, 2, 1.
Hafide Zentiro, welcome to our CNMI Delegate Forum, hosted by the Society of Professional Journalists CNMI chapter. We've reestablished the CNMI SPJ after 30 years. We're comprised of all local media, Mariana's Variety, Saipan Tribune, NMI News Service, KSPN2, which is where we're coming to you live from their studios on Capitol Hill, and of course, KUAM News. I'm Tomas Manglona, your moderator today and the president of CNMI SPJ. We're grateful to be joined with all 5 candidates running for office for the U.S. delegate to represent the CNMI in U.S. Congress. Our rounds today, we'll have 3 separate rounds, one focusing on national politics, one focusing on the economy, and one focusing on the military. We'll have opening and closing statements as well. CNMI SPJ encourages a healthy and civil conversation for the community to learn about each candidate as you head to the polls in November. Again, thank you to KSPN2 News for hosting this debate here in their studios. We'll go ahead and begin. We've selected a random order before we went live on this show. With opening statements, each candidate has 1 minute for their opening statement. And the first candidate we have is Republican Kimberlyn King-Hines. Your 1 minute begins now for opening statement.
Hafide Zentiro Marianas, you deserve competency. You deserve to be proud. And you deserve a federal government that doesn't act like a master. Instead works to serve you, to improve your quality of life. And I hope that you join me in the belief that we can level up the CNMI together. My name is Kim Hines, and I wouldn't be running for U.S. delegate if I did not believe that I could best represent you in Washington, D.C. I thank the Society of Professional Journalists for putting this event, and I look forward to having this conversation with you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next to Independent, John Gonzalez.
Hafide Tiro Wami, si Zeus Masi ni oportunidad. Thank you, SPJ, CNMI chapter. It is my sincere, humbled honor to appear before you. Maniluzan maninahu guau si John Oliver Bolis de los Reyes Gonzalez, nanao si Mariana Fredo Gonzalez, no tataubiu si Tomas Pa Palacios Sablan, nanao bia si Lucian Pangilinan de los Reyes si Lucian Bolis. Maniluzan maninahu gi para mamamayla na eleksyon, hal si para taadzik. Ufafaisin hamzu para inoizu tsamsa, gihinimiddi zanguinaiza zanginiflii. Upadesi, utsatsagadzo, zo tungo pininitin midzo. Anay mataya sa guao gi 2015. Uzuti todo za upoksa amaunisinya para imaniluza pamagono. Upinitizyamzo, si Zeus Masi, uwaiza hamzo.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to Independent, Democrat Ed Probst.
Thank you, Tomas. Hafide, Tino, Mabuhay, and good afternoon to all our viewing audience. I want to thank the SPJ for putting this together and my fellow candidates. It's great to see you all. I'm happy to be here. I am Ed Probst. I'm running for delegate under the Democratic banner. I do hope that you vote for me in November, and I look forward to meeting with you and talking with you in these capacities and forums, and also in house-to-house visits. Thank you. God bless.
And now we'll move on to Independent Liana Hofschneider.
Hafide, good afternoon to all of you. My name is Liana Sablan, Manglona Sablan Hofschneider. I am running as a nonpartisan, also called Independent. And I am here before you. Thank you for allowing me to your space. And I also want to thank the CNMI Society of Professional Journalism for hosting us today. And this is a very important day for all of us to come before you to tell you what we have in our minds and in our plans and the vision and the kind of leadership that you're looking for the next 2 years in Washington. As you are aware, that our CNMI have signed a very sacred document called the Covenant to establish a relationship with the United States. It has been 49 years, and it has been 16 years since we had established Public Law 110-229 to set this relationship as a U.S. delegate. I ask you for your vote of confidence to share my vision of a new leadership to share with the people. Jesus Masi.
Thank you. And on to Independent, James Rayford.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So James M. Rayfend. I'm a father of 4 beautiful children of the CNMI, and friend to all who make the CNMI home. I've entered this race on a platform of 4 primary things: economic prosperity, educational excellence, domestic security, and last but certainly not least, cultural preservation. I intend to run the People's Office in a 2-pronged approach. One, being policy development in pursuit of this platform, and second, direct consulate-type services for the people of the CNMI to ensure it. I really am looking forward to the discussions here today. Best wishes to my fellow candidates. God bless our people of the CNMI, and I will hope for a vote for Rayfand in November. Thank you.
Thank you. And Kimberly King-Hines, we were informed of some technical issues during your introduction statement, so we wanted to give you another minute so that the audience can hear you clearly. So please, if you'd like another minute just for your introduction so we can hear you clearly.
So good, it was, all right. Hi, Hapade Zantiro, CNMI. Let's do this again. You deserve competency. You deserve a representation that you're proud of. You also deserve a federal government that works to serve you. I believe that we can accomplish the things that we need to accomplish in DC if we work together. My name is Kim Hines, and I am running to be your U.S. delegate. And I wouldn't run and be here before you asking for your vote of confidence if I did not think that we could do this together. I thank you for your time, and I thank the SPJC for this opportunity to share our thoughts about the issues that matter to you the most. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you all again. We appreciate your time to inform our community ahead of November. We appreciate you being here. We'll go into our first round. The topic is national politics. For this round, each of you will have equal 2 minutes to respond to this question in the same random order that we selected when we began this forum. The question is, starting with Mr. Gonzalez, starting with Ms. King-Hines, we will ask this question. How will you achieve your agenda as a non-voting delegate in a deeply divided Congress? Your 2 minutes begins now.
You know, I am no stranger to not having a seat at the table. I am no stranger to being silenced because of strong positions. I am no stranger to being boxed out because of political differences. I am no stranger to standing up against the federal government when it mattered. One of the things that I've been doing to be able to overcome those challenges is by building relationships, collaborating. These are things that I'm doing now. If you have been watching what I've been doing and listening to the people that I have been talking about, I have built the relationship in DC within the Department of Defense, the Department of Transportation. As your delegate, I will be not knocking on doors. I will be walking through that door. And for me, it doesn't matter that you're Republican, you're a Democrat. The job of a delegate, once elected, is to serve your interests and to be your voice. And personally, I would talk to anyone, work with anyone, if it meant delivering for the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly King-Hines. Same question for this round for Mr. Gonzalez. The question is, how will you achieve your agenda as a non-voting delegate in a deeply divided Congress? Your 2 minutes begins now.
Ladies and gentlemen, Manyaluzon Manyaynahu. I will honor and respect whoever the majority party of the eligible voters in the mainland United States chooses. I am Tristizo and Pinitizo because we are not able to vote for the United States new leaders in national politics. But be that as it may, as your delegate, my principal obligation is to always be respectful, calm, composed, and dignified in order to work respectfully, amicably, constructively, professionally, and diplomatically with both aisles in the United States Congress and the President of the White House to leverage and defend and secure the requisite approvals and agreements of the United States and the Northern Marianas to ensure that the United States resumes its obligation to provide us the remaining rights that we are entitled to. We're not asking for handouts, as they promised and pursuant to our covenant, because I fervently and unequivocally believe that a contract must be adhered to and honored and delivered in good faith and with due diligence. Maniluzon Mininaho, the United States, in lieu of our contract and our ocean and land, that it's only American that we work respectfully and diplomatically and graciously with the United States to secure our rights entitled to us, because our people deserve better. If we live in the United States, we avail of all of these programs and benefits, yet when we come back, we do not get these benefits, yet we have the same blue American passports. Ladies and gentlemen, we must be forthright, we must be progressive and productive and respectful in securing the rights you all deserve. Si Jesus Masi, Olumai, salamat po.
Now on to candidate Probst. The question is, how will you achieve your agenda as a non-voting delegate in a deeply divided Congress? Your time starts now.
Thank you, Tomas. You know, a deeply divided Congress or deeply divided politics is nothing new to me. I have served proudly for, this will be my 10th year in the United States, in the CNMI House of Representatives, and I've entered as a minority member and worked hand in hand with people, with my colleagues, and I can tell you without a doubt that it is difficult to just say that you're going to reach across the aisle. You have to really practice what you preach. And what I learned early on is that you have to be very respectful and offer kindness to your colleagues. And no matter what, offer that respect and that kindness. I think that's exactly what Congressman Kilili has done for his past 16 years. Let's not kid ourselves. Congressman Kilili is the only serving delegate that this Commonwealth has had, and he's done an incredible job with being a non-voting delegate. But how has he reached across the aisle? How has he been so successful? He offers respect, he offers love, and he offers kindness. And I've seen it firsthand. I was in D.C. just last month, spent 2 weeks there, had the opportunity to shadow him and meet several congressional leaders and have their endorsements and support already. I'm grateful for these tools that we're using, which is simply to be kind people and work hard with everyone, regardless of party. You go beyond that. So I'm ready to do that. I've been training for this for 10 years. I'm floor leader right now, and I help everyone. There's not one single person I don't dislike or don't get along with. Thank you.
Thank you. On to candidate Liana Hofschneider. The question again, how will you achieve your agenda as a non-voting delegate in a deeply divided Congress?
Thank you. Thank you, Tomas. Thank you very much, Jesus Masi, for that question. As I was saying early on in my, if you are watching in my YouTube, Facebook, I am not new to a deeply divided leadership. One of which I was the University of Hawaii president, representing 60,000 students, 10 campuses, 7 community college, a baccalaureate, 3 baccalaureate, medical school, law school, and graduate school. And one of my key roles as the president representing the university is to represent the university at a state legislature in Hawaii and also at the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. Through this, if you are aware, Hawaii is a blue state, and the legislature is composed of Democrats, majority Democrats, and the governor at that time, during my tenure, was a Republican. In fact, she's a 2-term Republican. And going to Washington, I faced that. I had that training, my boots on the ground, representing the university in the university, for your information, is a Carnegie One Research Institute and also a $1 billion institute. And I have that training, and I'm asking for your vote of confidence to send me to Washington to do the same work for our people and our Commonwealth. We need it, and thank you so much.
Thank you. And candidate James Rafin, same question. How will you achieve your agenda as a non-voting delegate in a deeply divided Congress? Your time starts now.
Thank you. So I have spent the better part of the last 30 years advocating for those who couldn't advocate for themselves. I've been an advocate for people with disabilities. I was a school administrator speaking for elementary school kids, essentially giving voice to those who couldn't give it to themselves. I have learned in that process that yes, relationships are everything. Relationships in not just the people you have to, the people you have to convince to help you, but the people that you work with, in particular, the people that you work with. You have to bring a level of dignity and respect to the office that you hold and to the people that you work with. More practically, what is most important is that we do get on committees that can effectuate policy towards the agenda that we're bringing. I would very much like to continue Kalili's work on the Natural Resources Committee, and I have other ideas maybe on what other standing committees I could be a part of. Bottom line, you can't do the work we need to do. We can't achieve the agenda we need to achieve without working with the people that are doing the work. And hopefully that includes my fellow candidates, whoever wins this. I mean, hopefully we all will team up and do what we can to assist in bringing our CNMI forward. So bottom line, it comes down to treating people with dignity and respect. It comes down to modeling what you want, right? Be the example that you want to see from others. Thank you.
All right, thank you all to all of our candidates here for answering that first question. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back in 5 minutes before we head into the second round about the economy, and we'll have each candidate have a chance to answer a main question and others to respond for 30 seconds. We'll be right back right after this break.
2, 1.
Welcome back to the CNMI Delegate Forum hosted by the CNMI Society of Professional Journalists. We're now in round 2 of our forum with the delegates, and this is where you get to meet our SPJ members. We have the NMI News Service, Mariana's Variety, Saipan Tribune, KSPN, and KUAM, of course. And for this round, each candidate will have the opportunity to answer a question for 2 minutes, and other candidates after them will have to respond for 30 seconds in the same order that we selected before we began this forum. Our first SPJ member to ask a question for candidate Kimberlyn King-Hines will be Brad Rosala of NMI News Service.
Thank you, Tomas. Thank you, candidates, for joining us today. The local economy is so closely tied to tourism, and we're currently experiencing arrival numbers significantly lower than what we need. How would you use your position as delegate to address this?
Thank you for that question. We survived natural disasters, and we have been able to rebuild because we are resilient people. And when natural disasters happen, it takes time for the economy to recover. In this particular situation, it is self-inflicted. There is no reason that we are cutting government hour jobs. There is no reason that we don't have enough money to be able to provide the people with adequate health care. There is no reason why people are lining up in the corner at Atkins Kroll begging for money to be able to support to get their medical referral service. The fact of the matter is, if you look at our history, our economy is the strongest when there are 2 actual industries online. The first time, we had the tourism industry and the garment industry. The second time, the tourism industry and the casino industry. Now, I realize that we do have issues with national security and the concerns about our strategic location. However, we must ensure that our national security interests are balanced with our ability to be economically self-sustainable. We cannot afford to not seek to open up all markets. Is tourism the only solution? Absolutely not. But developing other new industries takes time, as everybody knows, to include the tourism industry itself. As your delegate, one of the first things that I would do is fight to open up markets. I will reach out to my friends at the Department of Transportation who are very aware of this situation, and I will seek their help to give us the exemption that's needed to freely open up all the markets so that we can start realizing the revenues that would put food on the table for every person here in the CNMI. Thank you.
Thank you. And now this is the section for 30-second responses from all the other candidates. I will now hear from candidate John Gonzalez. Your 30 seconds begins now.
Equally paramount as a member of Congress, I will relentlessly prioritize to professionally and amicably work with the United States to ensure that we mutually develop a newfound economic development with the United States military in a sustainable manner, such that they become our stable, long-term anchor tenant, innovative and practical manner, so we can resuscitate and rescue our economy. That's our opportunity. Let's work amicably, professionally, and respectfully.
Thank you, candidate Gonzalez. Now, candidate Ed Probst, your 30 seconds to respond begins now.
Thank you, Tomas. This is in regard to tourism, and I want to just say that one of the biggest things that we have to really continue to push for, which I've been fighting for along with the Marianas Islands Legislature Association, all leaders from Guam, and the CNMI, is affordable airfare. And that's something that is critical to the needs of the Commonwealth for so many other reasons, not just tourism, but well beyond that. I also want to say how important it is for us to ensure that we are the gem of the Pacific. Part of our problem, why are people going elsewhere? They have more to offer. So we're going to work on that. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Candidate Ileana Hofschneider, your 30 seconds to respond begins now.
The question is based on tourism and the economy. And as we know, tourism is a very volatile industry, and other candidates have talked about that. Tourism, 30% of tourism is the contribution to the economy as a national standard. But what I want to do is to partner with the department, under Covenant Section 7, is to partner with the Department of Commerce to ensure a progressively higher standard of living, and also to ensure that this is addressed about our economy.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Thank you so much. And last candidate to respond for this round is James Rafin. Your time starts now.
Thank you. The delegate needs to hone in on policies that can help to reduce costs and introduce new industry. The cabotage exemption is a good example of how we might be able to reduce costs in the airfare for tourists to get here. Also in the freight, the cost of products coming in by freight. As far as introductions of new industry, the covenant talks about agriculture and fisheries. I have no idea why we're surrounded by the biggest ocean in the world and we don't have a fisheries export. So I'd like to see that as well.
Thank you all. Now we will move to the second question under this round, again about the economy. This question will be first directed at candidate John Gonzalez. You will have the full 2 minutes to respond. And this question will now be asked by Dan Shore of KSPN 2 News.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for your time. How would you assess CUC's management of energy resources on the island, and what would be your energy plan for the NMI?
I am quite familiar and actually excited to share that obviously in U.S. Congress, there are cyclical rounds for comprehensive infrastructure, capitalization, capital improvement projects funding. And in fact, in our Covenant Section 702, we would find that at the outset, we were provided $20-some million until it was, as a matter of policy, divvied up between Guam and American Samoa. Assure delegate, we must come to the table calm and composed with dignity and respectfully request the United States. We are American citizens, and so it's only American that we sit down with them and juxtapose it, justify it, and leverage our compelling partnership with the United States through our covenant, sections 701, 702, and 703, in order for us to resuscitate and rescue our economy. So the immediate economic rescue plan is to work with the United States. Remember the COVID-19 pandemic programs under the Department of Treasury. I want to make sure that we return those things because for all intents and purposes, we're still under the pandemic. Economic impacts, unemployment compensation, child tax credit to assist families, emergency rental mortgage payment, assistance for small businesses, for respite care, for negotiating to provide unemployment insurance benefits, negotiate respite care programs for our services, for our veterans, for our sick loved ones, for our disabled senior citizens, retirees. We must leverage our covenant and again, work with the United States, with both aisles of Congress, and secure immediate near-term plan because our people deserve no less. Same blue passports, and let's work together and respectfully work with the White House and U.S. Congress. Jesus Masi.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Now we'll have candidate Ed Probst respond for 30 seconds.
Thank you. That's a really quick time. But I just want to say I was recently in Guam. They have a 60 megawatt solar panel, solar powered generation. And it's amazing what they're able to do. Imagine what we could have. We should have had that 10 years ago. And it took them 6 years just to get that going. We need to move quickly, and we need to put those old, outmoded diesel generators out of their misery. Thank you.
Candidate Liana Hofschneider, you are next, and your 30 seconds begins now.
Thank you. As a member of the Sustainability 2050 under the Governor Linda Lingo, it is her goal since 2029, and I have that experience to merge because there's no reason why we should not be on a sustainable photovoltaic solar panel at this point when the sun is here 16 hours a day, and I ask you that it's important that there's no use that we should continue to do this kind of energy, and we have to do away with fossil fuel.
Thank you. Now to candidate James Rafin, your 30 seconds to respond begins now.
My assessment of CUC currently is that they're failing us. The LEAC charges alone are ridiculous. I don't know why I pay triple the cost of my utility costs. As far as a solution, I was just sat through a meeting where they're talking about wind power generation, right? But maybe that's not feasible at the moment. I'm told it's a long process to get that going, but we do need to explore other options for energy. But the message is we're being failed by CUC right now.
Thank you. And our last response for this question will come from candidate Kimberly King-Hines. Your 30 seconds begins now.
We've been talking about this issue for as long as I can remember. It seems like when it comes to CUC and addressing the infrastructure issue there, we're talking about the same thing over and over and over again. It's time to stop talking and actually do something about the situation. Bringing in new technology, whatever it may be, is something that we need to do today, and we just need to walk it like we talk it. Thank you.
Thank you. That ends this question round. On to the next question under the economy. This question will go to candidate at Probst, who will have the full 2 minutes, and the others will have 30 seconds to respond. And it will be asked by SPJ member Brian from the Marianas Variety.
Thank you, Tomas. Co-candidate, this is for Edwin Probst. Do you think repealing Article 12 of the CNMI Constitution now will boost investor confidence and help the overall NMI economy?
Thank you. Will Article 12, the abolishment or whatever, help the economy? That's a very emotionally charged question that a lot of people have talked about and a lot of people have asked about. A lot of our challenges have been said that it's Article 12 related. I would just want to say that's just a part of it. Should we abolish Article 12? That's not something that I can decide on myself. I don't think a delegate can make that decision by himself or herself either. This is something that the people have to decide on their own, their future. Just with the blood quantum when they reduced it for lineage, for people to own land. The same thing has to happen when it comes to whether they want to extend leases from 55 years to 99 years, which is something that we've heard discussed. Those discussions have to happen. A lot of times they happen on the picnic tables and we're talking about it. You have some for or against it. But I don't firmly believe that is going to solve our economic woes. Our economic challenges have really been through, I'm sorry to say this, but a lot of misuse and abuse of funds, whether it's local or federal funds. Not spending money appropriately, robbing Peter to pay Paul, historically has been our challenge. That's where we really need to look to. Article 12 is something that we can decide, but it has to be decided collectively. The indigenous people have to come out and decide on their own on some matter that critical and important. I do want to say, thanks to Article 12, we don't have the challenges that Hawaii has gone through, and Guam is going through right now with homelessness and outrageous costs for housing right now. So there are pros and cons to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now for 30-second responses from all of the candidates, we'll move on to candidate Liana Hofschneider.
Thank you, Tomas. Thank you. And the question was whether it's going to improve the economy by removing Article 12. Absolutely not. Article 12 has been exploited left to right by every governor that has been elected in the last 49 years, and every elected official has exploited that to unlimited proportion. What we need to do is to hone in on who actually need to do on our public lands that are on Article 11 and work on that, because Article 12 is not the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate James Rafin, your time to respond begins now.
I don't think there's any question that there would be an economic impact, a positive economic impact, if Article 12 were abolished. Do I support abolishing it? No. I don't think the founders of our covenant negotiated that with intent to see the people can live in with their newfound covenant as paupers in their own land, right? So the policymakers need to find a balance between preserving our cultural heritage and improving our economic benefit. But abolishing Article 12 is not the answer.
Candidate Kimberly King-Hines, you are up next to respond for 30 seconds, and your time begins now.
I believe indigenous lands must remain in indigenous hands, and that is why I've been going out and speaking against the overturn of the insular cases, which the courts have been using to uphold Article 12, to uphold certain provisions of the covenant, because as it applies, if the insular cases would be overturned, it would mean that Article 12 is unconstitutional. So instead of just talking about it, I've been going out there and talking and doing something about it.
Time has expired. Thank you so much. And the last candidate to respond for 30 seconds for this question is candidate John Gonzalez. Your time starts.
Ladies and gentlemen, we don't need to look too far. Look back to the economic prosperity of the 1980s under Article 12. The Japanese economy exploded and invested millions and millions of dollars in Luta, Tinian, and Saipan and the Northern Islands families. Article 12 is not the problem. Unequivocally, no. Let's keep Article 12. It is the policies and the decisions of our leaders, and we must work together progressively, learning from the lessons of the past for economic prosperity.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Thank you all again. We will now move on. We have 2 more questions for this round before the next break. This 4th question will be directed at candidate Liana Hofschneider. You'll have the full 2 minutes to respond and the others 30 seconds. And this question will be asked by SPJ member Kim from the Saipan Tribune.
Hi, good afternoon. I hope you guys are all having a great day.
We are. We are.
So my question today is, how will you address the current economic crisis on Rota and Tinian, specifically the extreme high cost of living, whose people on average earn minimum wage?
Thank you for that question, Kim, and thank you so much. I am very excited that that was a question for me. And one of the campaign's agenda that I have is to raise the minimum wage to $15 within the next 15 years. But I would also work with the small business as a U.S. delegate in Congress to ensure that our small businesses are protected. Small businesses are the backbone of the nation's economy, and it's no different here in the CNMI. We have hundreds of small businesses, and we have to make sure that we do better. With regard to Tinian and Rota, we know a lot of their challenges are in transportation. And as your delegate, I will work closely with the Department of Transportation and the Department of Commerce and in collaboration with the Department of Defense, because there is a significant treaty and a contract with America to ensure a progressively higher standard of living. The high cost of living in Tinian and Rota is unsustainable. It's actually a humanitarian crime to charge the people that cost of living. And as your delegate, I will ensure that I will work closely to make sure that the ports and the airports have access and the cost of commodities, and that the people there and power are sustainable for a progressively higher standard of living. That's the promise, and that's what I'm going to Washington with. Sizus Masi.
Thank you so much. Candidate James Riefin, we'll go to you for your 30-second response, and your time begins now.
I mentioned earlier about the delegates' need to hone in on policies that reduce costs. Right? Transportation costs are insane for Rota, not just for people going to and from, but for freight. And so the cost of living is too high. So reduce the cost of transportation there. The next piece probably is just bring new industry. I think what better place, I mentioned agriculture, what better place than Rota to bring some agricultural work there. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Kimberly King-Hines, your 30 seconds to respond begins now.
For the past 7 years, I've been working on trying to bring essential air services to CNMI. I know that that's going to take some time. One of the things that we can do right now immediately to bring direct relief is by allowing the municipalities to directly apply for grants to meet the needs. Mayors are the frontliners in these communities, and we need to be able to give them the flexibility and the autonomy to be able to go after these resources to help their communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate John Gonzalez, your turn to respond for 30 seconds.
Sizus Masi, the missing link, Manyeluzan, Manyaynahu, in Rota especially, and throughout our CNMI islands, including the Northern Islands, is affordable, sustainable, inter-island transportation, whether that be in vessel or airlines. We must do away with the cabotage law and allow for airlines in the region to serve our people. There's $28 million to fix the seaport of Rota. We are excited, and that would tremendously address the cost of living in Rota.
Thank you. Your time has expired. And for the last response for this question, candidate Epros.
Thank you. We all said it, transportation and affordable shipping. One of the big ways is that these are designated marine highways, if you will, between our islands. We need to do what Alaska's been doing and ensure that we have inter-island ferries and shipping that is paid through and subsidized through the federal government. We should be able to do that, just as Alaska and other ports have been able to do.
All right, thank you all for your responses. That brings us to the final question of this round, which I'll be asking, of course, as a reporter for KUAM News. And this question will be directed at candidate James Rafen. You'll have the full 2 minutes to respond. The question is, how will you support small businesses who are not well connected to start and thrive? Your 2 minutes to respond begins.
Well connected or not shouldn't have an effect on whether people can do business here in the CNMI. Again, from the delegate seat, it's going to be about developing policies, monitoring policies that affect that kind of work. Grants to small businesses, of course, need to keep funneling through the CNMI. There absolutely connections should not matter, is the point. I'm sorry, I missed was there a second part of that question?
How will you support small businesses to start and thrive?
It comes down to basically keeping them informed about what policies are on small business, what fundings are available, making sure the funding is getting to the CNMI. Again, I'm trying to put myself in the seat of the delegate and what the delegate can do. But a lot of that requires local effort. A lot of that requires educating the local authorities to make sure that connections aren't a factor, right? That everybody can do business fairly. Everybody has the equitable right to access business. Excuse me, business opportunities here. So I think that's it.
Right, thank you. Now we'll go to candidate Kimberly King-Hines for your 30-second response. Your time begins now.
Let me tell you what I've been working on now currently. I'm seeing these military developments on Tinian, but what I'm seeing is that small businesses do not have the opportunity to participate. What I'm working on right now, not as your delegate, is trying to get them to participate by availing to them the resources and connecting them with the right people within DoD. As your delegate, this is something that I continue to fight and work for.
Thank you. Candidate John Gonzalez, your 30 seconds to respond begins.
As I had mentioned earlier, we must work with the Department of Treasury in the U.S. and the White House and seek authorization to immediately restore those post-pandemic economic relief for small businesses and employees and businesses that have closed. Equally important is to ensure that we execute a master plan with the military development as anchor tenants and to make sure that we develop jobs and participate in procurement contracts for our small businesses here in Luta, Tinian, and Saipan, and the Northern Islands.
Thank you. Candidate Probst, your 30 seconds to respond begins now.
Thank you. The backbone of every strong economy obviously is small business. The challenge is not so much with the delegate, because the delegate's job is to try to bring in more funding. It's on the local level. And I say this just from an experience yesterday with a business opening up in Precinct 1. The difficulty of trying to open this business is crazy with the restrictions and everything, with zoning and DPW. Fortunately, we were able to work through it, but a lot of this red tape has to be erased. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last candidate to respond for this question is candidate Liana Hofschneider. Your 30 seconds starts.
Jesus Masi Tomas. As I was saying earlier, the backbone of our nation is small businesses. And similarly here in the CNMI, it is important that the Small Business Administration that has an office at the Northernmost College and including the Department of Commerce locally, I will work relentlessly with the Department of Commerce through small business to ensure that there is a connection and a collaboration and engagement with every small business here on the island to ensure that they have that access.
Thank you all. Thank you all for participating in that round. We're now going to head into another quick break as we enter the round about the military buildup here in the CNMI. Again, you're watching the CNMI Delegate Forum hosted by the CNMI Society of Professional Journalists. We'll be right back after this.
3, 2, 1, go.
Hafidez and Tiro, welcome back. We are now in round 3 of our CNMI Delegate Forum, hosted by the CNMI chapter of the Society of Professional Journalists. For this round, we'll follow the same format in the previous round, but we'll be focusing on the military. For our first question, it will be asked by the Marianas Variety News reporter, Brian, who will be directing this question at candidate Kimberlyn King-Hines. Brian, please join us.
I think John. I think this is for John.
We're going for number 1. Candidate number 1 is Kimberlyn King-Hines.
Okay. What environmental and infrastructure legislation related to the military buildup in Tinian will you be introducing if elected as a delegate?
Thank you for that question, and it's a very good question because, you know, the military issue is something that I've been working on for the greater part of 10 years. And one of the things that I'm seeing that people in the community don't understand is that there's this expectation that we are going to have the same results that we're seeing in Guam in terms of the economy as we do here in the CNMI. That's simply just not the case. In Guam, it's one island. Here in the CNMI, we're divided by 3 islands. And the way that the military spends its money, basically, it spends the money where the impact is at. And so what we've been working on now is how do we mitigate some of these impacts to include the environment. We have been recently awarded a REPI grant, which looks at mitigation and ensuring that our certain, fauna certain fauna is protected and perpetuated. As your delegate, I want to ensure that whatever benefit is coming to the CNMI, to Tinian, that DOD takes a one CNMI approach, much like Guam. Right now, the focus is on Tinian. What we need to be doing basically is ensuring that our islands are protected from some of these invasive species like snakes, like the rhino beetle, and we need to be able to provide the funding for our law enforcement here on the ground to be able to do their jobs effectively. These are the things that I've been working on now. These are the things that I would fight for if you elect me as your delegate.
Thank you. And now for the 30-second responses, we'll go with candidate John Gonzalez next.
We are excited about the opportunity for the U.S. military to finally, after 49 years executing the covenant, to establish themselves here and make do with their promise as an anchor tenant so we can work in partnership with dignity so that we can have people, our small businesses, accessing military contracts. But at the same time, make no mistake, I will make sure that the United States is adhered to the NEPA and the Section 406 archaeological consultations because responsible environmental stewardship must be adhered to.
Thank you. Candidate Pros, your 30 seconds starts now.
Thank you. Obviously, the military brings in great revenue, and we support that. We support our military. Most of us are pro-military, at least. But we do have to realize that there are environmental concerns. The stakeholders always must be included, and any detrimental impacts to our environment or effects to our cultural heritage must be respected and adhered to. So there has to be a balance always for military to succeed and thrive through protection of our culture and our history. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Liana Hofschneider, your 30 seconds to respond starts now.
Thank you for that question. As an advocate for environment and indigenous rights, the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, one of the things that they mention is to ensure the less military impact on the great footprint of military on indigenous lands. And as an indigenous advocate, I will ensure that all the sections of the United States Congress that provides for us under Section 106 and including all environmental impact, because when you talk about environmental impact, it also includes, we're one of the oldest civilizations. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we will have candidate James Rafin for your 30-second response.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised to see how much input the military sought before they did any work around here. There was a large level of back and forth and consideration about what the community needs and what the environment needs. So I think as a delegate, it really comes down to holding the military accountable to their own protocols which already exist, and what better seat to do it from than the delegate seat, to sit with the brass and make sure that they're holding the people on the ground accountable to their own procedures.
All right, thank you so much. This next question will be asked by Saipan Tribune reporter Kim. And this question, candidate John Gonzalez, you'll have 2 minutes to respond, with the others responding for 30 seconds after. Kim, please join us up here.
Hi again. I hope you guys are doing well. We're not inducing too much anxiety. So, my question today is, how will you leverage the CNMI in talks with federal and military partners to strike a deal that will help the CNMI's economy thrive?
To supporting this solemn mission, thanks to our many hundreds, thousands of servicemen and women from Luta, Tinian, Saipan, and the Northern Islands, who have served honorably and continue to, and have risked their lives for collective safety. I'm humbled to share, too, that our very own sons are going to be graduates. One have graduated from the Coast Guard Military Academy and are honorably and voluntarily and excited to serve the nation accordingly. I'm grateful, too, for the value-added benefits of education and scholarship that our soldiers and veterans and families are entitled to for their dedication and valor. And that's part of Section 701 of the Covenant to achieve progressively higher standard of living for our people as part of the American economic community. At the same token, and as I've said earlier, I'm unequivocally firm in my steadfast belief that I will respectfully and unconditionally request the U.S. to make sure that they adhere to the basic principles of responsible environmental stewardship to avoid irreparable destruction of our cultural homeland. As your member of Congress, I will develop a newfound economic development with the military in a sustainable manner so that we achieve a true amicable partnership with the military's anchor tenants. We must make sure that our people, our businesses participate in a dignified way with access to military contracts, and that I plan to meticulously and diplomatically negotiate with the Department of Defense, the U.S. President, Congress, to also immediately stabilize our collapsing basic public services and government coffers and deposit the rest of our newfound economic valuation of our lands and ocean for the future citizens and generation. Jesus Mase.
Thank you. Now we will move into our 30-second responses, beginning with candidate Ed Probst. Your 30 seconds begins now.
Could the question be repeated?
Yes. Kim's question from the Saipan Tribune was, how will you leverage the CNMI in talks with federal and military partners to strike a deal that will help the CNMI's economy thrive? Your 30 seconds begins.
Thank you. One of the things that I'd really push for if I am elected is to serve in the Armed Services Special Committee. That's one plus. And to support the governor in his 902 talks and negotiations, and to ensure that we're getting the very best deal possible we can. We've seen the extreme benefits that the military has given Guam. The CNMI also needs support from DOD, and that includes financial support and economic prosperity through the military. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now moving on to candidate Liana Hofschneider for your 30 seconds response. Your time starts now.
Thank you, Jesus Master, for that. As we know, we are a strategic trust, and one of the relationships that we have is with the military. And the U.S. Department of Defense unequivocally has never had a reduced in budget. As your delegate, I will work closely with the Department of Defense to ensure that we are a line item in the national budget for the CNMI to ensure to protect our environment and achieve a progressively higher standard of living. That was the promise. And as I was saying, it's a $7 billion budget under the Department of Defense. It's just massive.
Thank you. Candidate James Rafin, your time starts now.
Yeah, we can never let members of Congress and anybody else who are holding the purse strings on leveraging funds, the importance and the role that the CNMI has played throughout the history, the military history for that matter. So it's really a matter of sitting down, reminding them not just of the past, but reinforcing our strategic value now. I think that's been made pretty clear with recent movements in the military. There's no doubt we still hold high strategic value in the area, and I think we need to remind them.
All right, thank you so much. And the last 30-second response from candidate King Hines. Your time starts now.
I'm not waiting, CNMI. These are conversations that I've been having with U.S. Indo-PACOM Command, whether it be Aquilino then and Paparo now, the Secretary of the Air Force. These are one-on-one conversations that we've been having. Just a few days ago, U.S. congressional staffers came to town, and the conversation basically was we must balance national security interests here in the CNMI with the CNMI's ability to be economically self-sustainable. That was the deal, that was the benefit that we bargained for, and we must all do better. Congress must deliver. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that wraps up that first question round. The second question, we're now going to go to the third question. Again, this question is for candidate Ed Probst. You have the full 2 minutes, and that's coming from the NMI News Service, Brad Rosala.
Thank you, Tomas. Thank you again, candidates. Sticking on the topic of the military, how do you view the expanding military presence in the Marianas, and what are your thoughts about a possible naval divert facility in Saipan that would be similar to the Air Force's divert facility in Tinian?
Thank you, Brad. An excellent question, and something that we all have to really discuss as a Commonwealth. Right now is most opportune time, as we've heard time and time again, that the Commonwealth and Guam are the tip of the spear. It is the reason why I have been doing all I can as the floor leader of the House of Representatives with my colleagues to reach out to Guam and to discuss these issues that deal with the military, to also learn and listen to their concerns and their growing pains with the military. But I can tell you there is more positive than there is negative if you really consider what has happened during the pandemic. At a time when we were just barely surviving, when our hotels were at 0% or a few people trickling in, the military was packing in the hotel rooms and contributing to the economy. They've always had that fail-safe that has always helped them. We now have a divert airfield in Tinian, and we've seen the economic impact and the benefits that it has, and that's fantastic. So we need to, as a community, look at this, and as we mentioned earlier, also ensure that the military does come in, that we ensure that there's no detrimental impact to our environment, to our cultural heritage, and to all the things, the flora and fauna that must be protected, as Kim had mentioned about bringing in all kinds of like snakes or whatever it may be. We have to ensure that we protect that, protect our small community, because we are a beautiful Commonwealth, and we have so much potential, but we are limited in our size, but not in our ability to do great and in our hearts. So thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Hofschneider, you now have 30 seconds to respond.
Thank you, and thank you for that question, Brad. As I was saying, military footprint is a very big impact on the environment. And as an advocate on indigenous environment, it's very important for me that we sit down and analyze what the military has in mind, because right now we have a diverted airfield that was supposed to be in Saipan, but now it's in Tinian. And the original was to have, I was intending that they should have done a better job in ensuring that the ports in Tinian was protected, because that was the agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Rafen, your 30 seconds to respond begins.
Kim mentioned this one CNMI. I don't know why there wouldn't be two divert airfields here in the CNMI. So I would absolutely support the idea of having an extra divert field on Saipan. But overall, I cannot overemphasize my pleasure or my joy in seeing military presence here. I absolutely love having the military here. I think more the better.
Thank you. Candidate King-Hines, your time starts now for your 30-second response.
I think that question better be asked of the community. How much more of our lands, our waters, and our air are we going to cede to the federal government? We are not getting the benefit of the bargain today of this original agreement. So before we talk about giving up more to the military, we need to start working on demanding what are our rights and privileges under the covenant. And as your delegate, that is what I will focus on. I will also promise that those decisions will not be made in dark rooms, but with your consultation. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last 30-second response for this question is from candidate Gonzalez. Your time starts.
We must be strategic and deliberate in our economic platform and framework moving forward, learning from the observations and experiences of the past. We must work together respectfully and amicably with the United States military, again, as anchor tenants, making sure that there's responsible environmental stewardship, but at the same time, making sure that our economic prosperity is not unnecessarily interrupted at the expense of military forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Just 2 more questions, candidates, for this round before our next break. Thank you for joining us again. This question will be asked by myself. This is going to be directed at candidate Hofschneider. You will have 2 minutes to respond with the 30-second responses after. The question is, what would you bring to the table to potential 902 talks with the administration, given they said they're leveraging the military buildup? Your 2 minutes begins now.
Thank you. And I'm glad that you asked that question, Tomas. I really appreciate that. The 902, as you all are aware, is a venue that is provided after the signing of the covenant. And recently, I had just read that the governor had included Section 702 as one of the funding areas. I've been advocating at the legislature for the past many months, asking the legislature to please look into that section. That's a very important section. The treaty provides that, and I will continue to say this. We were promised a progressively higher standard of living for giving up our international relationship, for giving up land, for giving up our airspace, for giving up all of this peace and tranquility, but also ensuring that we have a stable military strategic. We are a strategic location, so we have to have a stable national security in our region. As you all are aware, our regions are very volatile, and as your delegate, I plan to sit down with the Department of Defense to ensure that we have a stable economy. We are not a rider. We want to be a line item in the Department of Defense issue because we matter. Our people matter. Our islands matter. The CNMI matters. And we, as like I say, we are America's morning. And I want to re-emphasize that. We are America's morning, and our lives matter. Our people's lives matter, and our children. Our responsibility to our children and the future generation is in our hands now, and it's critical. We have sit down for 49 years, and we have to make sure that the next generation, we leave it better than what it is today. Sizul's Maasi, and I look forward to sitting down with the military, should you send me to Washington, and I ask for your vote of confidence to please allow me this opportunity to use my experiences and learning that I've had with many people with the military at the University of Hawaii. Sizul's Maasi.
Thank you. Now on to the 30-second responses from each of you. We'll go on now to candidate Rayfan.
The mere fact that we can sit here and debate whether or not or how we're going to deal with the military is a testament to how important the military is for us. They're the reason why we have the freedoms that we do. As far as giving up land, I look at it more as we're sharing the land that they're helping us protect. Again, back to the emphasis on I want to see the military here. Yes, you have to balance it with our economic interests, and importantly, you have to balance it with our cultural heritage interests. But I don't see we're giving it up.
Thank you. Candidate King-Heinz, your 30 seconds starts now.
I've been working with the Military Department of Defense for 10 years, and I know for a fact that they don't spend where the impact is not at. Right now, all the focus and all the investments are in Tinian. What I would like to see at the 902 talks is to ask for a one Marianas approach where if you set footprint in the Marianas, whichever island you're on, that all of the Marianas benefits, because we all sacrificed so much to be able to have this relationship, and we should all feel the benefit of this relationship. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate John Gonzalez, your 30 seconds starts now.
Economy, economy, economy. Immediate relief for our struggling people who are suffering and are tired of suffering. All the costs of living are relentlessly high. Please, Governor and the 902 consultation team, resuscitate our economy, give hope and jobs and businesses to open up and flourish while we develop the near-term and long-term economic framework that is sustainable and respectful of our island and environment.
Thank you. Candidate Probst, your 30 seconds to respond starts now.
I think the main word here and most important word is leverage. This is something that we really need to look at being the tip of the spear. We see how Guam has benefited greatly. Just recently, they're getting $13 billion to put their power lines underground. We need to see the same type of benefit for the CNMI. We must fight hard for it as one, Marianas. And fortunately, we have the backing of Guam to do that. I will do that as a delegate. I will do that even if I weren't elected as a delegate. I will champion that. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to our final question of this forum before closing statements after the break. And that final question will come from KSPN's Dan Shore. And this is directed at delegate candidate James Rayfin for your 2 minutes.
With the United States and China both striving for supremacy in the Pacific, how would you balance both the military buildup and Chinese tourism?
And I know there's been a lot of talk about the annex, I forget the number, but a lot of talk about freeing up the Chinese market coming into here. You know, it really comes down to negotiating with those who know best. I don't have the advantage of sitting in on privileged meetings about what the geopolitical concerns are, about what the military action concerns are. So it really comes down to trying to find a balance, but we need a seat at the table. You know, I personally need a seat at the table in order to be able to tell you what I can do about that. I can't help but keep re-emphasizing the fact that the value in military presence is not just economic, but it's also security. It's value in defensive posturing. I think just having him here is a deterrent to some of the concerns that people have, even from China. So it really is going to take. It's really going to take a seat at the table to be able to negotiate. It would be disingenuous for me to say we need to do this when I have no idea what the security concerns actually are. I think it's a disadvantage for some of us coming into this conversation. I can hear that China's a threat in this and that, but I don't know the facts. So I think it's really going to come down to a negotiation between the facts versus fiction. Thank you.
Thank you. And for a 30-second response round, we'll start with Kimberlyn King-Hines.
Chinese tourists are not a threat in California, and how many bases are there in California? Right now, we're seeing a surge of Chinese tourists coming in to Hawaii. We're seeing a surge of Chinese tourists. They're actually the second highest tourists in Japan. They're the first, I think it may be, in Korea. So why is it good for everybody else, everybody's economy, except for the CNMI? As your delegate, I want to open up, I want to remove the limitations so that all tourists can come here, so that we can see this money going into our government. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Gonzalez, your 30 seconds begins now.
Again, we must be strategic and deliberate, respectful and diplomatic. Make sure that on one hand, we preserve U.S. national security, but at the same time, and not on my watch ever, will be at the expense of our economic prosperity, resuscitate our economy, help our American citizens, because it's only American to do so. And I will make sure to ask Congress, the President, to help our American citizens here. Thank you very much. Jesus Masi.
Thank you. Candidate Probst.
Thank you. The main difference between Chinese traveling to Hawaii and California and New York is that they actually require a visa, and they actually pay a much higher price for that travel. Guess what? Every single Chinese that comes in here does not require that. Visa is done in parole in place. We're the only territory to allow that. And I do want to say quickly that the United States House Committee on Appropriations for Defense, which is this is Republicans and Democrats that we met with, have been very concerned about security issues with China. Thank you.
Your time has expired. And on to our last 30-second response from candidate Hofschneider.
Thank you. I'm glad that this question was brought up. Yes, we have to be aware of our national policies and the national security. We have to be very concerned. We have to understand that there's issue right now in the region with China. We have to ensure that the people that are coming here are allies of our nation's capital. We cannot continue to be a stepping stone for people that are unchecked. And it was said, you know, they come here on a parole in place, and that's not right.
Thank you.
So I support Jesus Masi.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Thank you all. That completes this round, and we'll be right back after this. We'll be hearing closing statements from each of the candidates. They'll get 3 minutes each. Again, you're watching the CNMI Delegate Forum, hosted by CNMI SPJ. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We are now in the closing portion of our delegate forum, again hosted by the CNMI Society of Professional Journalists. We're going to follow the same order that was randomly selected at the beginning by each of the candidates. Each candidate for this round will have a full 3 minutes to give their closing statements, and we will begin with candidate King Hines.
Thank you very much. Half a day again, CNMI. I'm a fighter. I'm an advocate. And if you can't already tell, I'm very passionate about the causes that I believe in. I am a lawyer by profession. Every single day, I fight for the rights of individuals. I fight to protect the interest of people. In the courtroom, I fought to make sure that kids are not going hungry. I fight for women to ensure that their safety is of utmost priority. I have negotiated many different agreements that have brought significant benefits to the CNMI. When everybody told me that fighting against the Department of Defense was like David fighting Goliath, you know what? I didn't listen. I stood firm, and I sued the Navy. I sued the Department of Defense to make sure that Tinian and Pagan are not bombed. And look at where we're at today. We are in a situation where we have a very strong relationship with the Department of Defense. Those divert projects that everybody's talking about, guess who negotiated that? That was me. Some of these activities that are ongoing, these beneficial programs like the IRT that you're seeing that's happening today, guess who brought that in? That was me who negotiated that. I will bring my experience, my passion, and the tools and the skills that I have gained from going to law school and I've been using to help this community to be your champion in Washington, D.C. I believe that we have so many things to do, we have so many challenges, but I am hopeful. I am hopeful that if we work together, there's no mountains that we can't climb, there's nothing that we can't accomplish, because I believe that everything is possible as long as you work hard. Thank you so much for your time. It was great to be able to share this space with you. I wish you all a great weekend, and I humbly ask for your vote of confidence this November 5th. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you. Candidate Gonzalez, your 3 minutes for your closing statement.
Manyeluzan manyay na no taza okuka maspa bayu sinamzo. I will never promise anything other than your caring, compassionate, calm, composed, and respectful leader as a member of Congress. I will not be a politician. That never worked. I, however, promise you that I will be your servant, because servants are God-fearing, and servants are beholden to no special interest other than you. Hamzu ni manyeluzan manyenahu, especially the silenced, the voiceless, the vulnerable, and the suffering people. Manyeluzan manyenahu, for 30 plus years, I have helped all of you. I wrote the largest U.S. federal grant in the Commonwealth's history, $245 million, plus 40 plus million under the U.S. CARES and ARPA Act post-pandemic. We're building homes for people and families. Ladies and gentlemen, I truly care for our people. In the span of 5-6 months, I wrote that grant with our team, without an attorney, and with defending our covenant and our Constitution with councils in U.S. headquarters in D.C., San Francisco, and Hawaii. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine if you put me in U.S. Congress, you hire me and place me in the halls of the United States Congress. Imagine the windfall, resources, technical assistance, accountability, ethics, and transparency that you expect as a servant, not a politician. Manyeluzan manyenaw man na masitaw tawta man mamadedesi man osun man ingadzinaw. Utilities are going up. Food continue to rise. Inflation killing our people. The medical insurance that are doubling are going up. Medical referral every day, every other day we get tickets for fundraising and all of these things. All the while, the menial CNMI retirement pension stays, Social Security income stays, and the cost to live and survive is killing us. Manyiluzon manyinahu, I raised our 3 sons on my own in 2015. Upinitizi hamzu, ugwaiza hamzu, utungo hapatsinatsaga sa ukahad zan upoksay falalahin mommy. And that's the defining, differentiating difference between me and my honorable colleagues. Upinitizi hamzu, and I will fight for all of you, and I will do it respectfully, calm and composed, because we must do nothing less people over politics, and our people deserve the services as American citizens, and also as using the blue passport. We must seek infrastructure funding for CUC new power plants, the hospitals in Rota, Tinian, and Saipan, and we must leverage CUC to work with solar power, hydropower, and the latest efficient technology, so costs of living is down.
Thank you. Candidate Probst, your 3 minutes for closing begin.
Thank you, Tomas, and thank you all, our constituents out there who are listening to this wonderful forum. And I want to thank my candidates, my colleagues here for sitting through all of this, and appreciate the time that you've given us. You've all heard from each and every one of us, and I hope you choose wisely. That's all we can ask. We've given you options today and where we stand on the issues. It's, although a very brief, just synopsis of where we really stand, and I'm sure we'll have other debates and discussions and talk about things amicably. And I say that because that is one of the most important things that I've learned in my tenure as a representative of the people, is that you must maintain dignity and you must offer others the respect that they deserve. And it is something that is key to building bridges and relationships. I've done that time and time again. It's something Congressman Kilili has done so successfully in his 16 years of stellar service to the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, in everything that he's been able to deliver. And I'm so grateful for his wisdom and his tutelage, and the fact that he's been there and he opens his door to any one of us. You know, this is something in this type of job where I want to ensure that I never overpromise and underdeliver. I keep things real. I try to talk to you as I would talk to anyone else. And I've always learned that you have to maintain that humility and that core respect for your fellow colleagues, something that is critical in Washington, D.C. We've seen the relationships that Kilili has built and now a senior ranking member, and how he's been able to carry that through. I'm very fortunate to have this opportunity to run, and I hope to follow in his footsteps. They're big shoes to fill, and we can't kid ourselves. We're all coming in as freshmen, regardless. But I am grateful for, again, his support, his endorsement, as well as from many others, many of you who have been there for me as much as I've been there for you. I am grateful. This has been home for 50 years. This is going to be where I will eventually, hopefully later on, be buried. But I love these islands, I love these people, and I love everyone in this community. Together we thrive. Together we can do great things. I really wish each and every one of you the very best. I thank you for the opportunity to talk to you, and I look forward to more opportunities, whether it's house visits or you give me a call. That's how we do it. So thank you. I love you. I'm grateful to be here. God bless.
Thank you. Candidate Hofschneider, your 3 minutes.
Jesus Maasi, thank you for allowing me into your spaces. And today is a very important day, and I want to also thank the Society for Professional Journalism for getting us together to share some of our thoughts and our vision for our Commonwealth in the next century, the next half century. Next year would be 50 years of our relationship with America. And it's very simple. You know, I've been to Washington by the grace of God. I represented the university, and I will reiterate that because that's a very important role. And I'm very happy that and grateful that I had that opportunity to actually participate to ensure that a lot of you guys are going to college and are enjoying or not enjoying, but are benefiting from those advocacy that we did in Washington, D.C. more than a decade ago, increasing the Pell Grant funding, lowering the interest rate, accessing technology in the classroom are some of the things that we worked hard. We also worked hard on renewable energy, and I'm very fortunate to be part of the ARA funding. Now it's ARPA, and I want to continue that relationship and continue those walking across the halls to ask for advocacy for our islands and our people. We have to do away with fossil fuel. We cannot continue to have that kind of CUC. As my husband is a 19 years cancer survivor, I understand the struggles of families accessing quality health care and medical access. I also understand the cost of the CUC, the leverage tax that or the fee, the fuel adjustment price. I don't know what that is, but we shouldn't be put there. We should have renewable energy. It's long overdue, and that's me. I also want to continue a bettering relationship with the military. I want to take care of the veterans that are serving now, and the veterans that have retired. We need to do better than that. We need to do better than what it is. But I am very confident that with the training that I have, with the people at the university guiding me through to walk across the aisle on a nonpartisan agenda, and that's my agenda. My agenda is about the CNMI and improving on those relationships, what has been promised in the covenant. I am about that, and I want to see all of us have a higher standard of living for every person and every child. The PSS says, students first. The court says the child's best interest. And I am about that. We also have to take care of our teachers. We need to do better for our teachers in the classroom. We need to have a job security for not only the teachers, but all the employees, both private and government. And that's why I am pushing for a higher standard of living. And one of the first things that I'm going to be introducing, should you guys put me to Washington, is to increase the minimum wage to $15 within the next 5 years. Thank you, Sus Masi.
Thank you. And last but not the least, candidate Rafen.
Thank you, Tom. For far too long, I think we have viewed our relationship with the U.S. as an us versus them situation. Even discussions today, it seems like we're going into a fight essentially with ourselves. A fight with the military or a fight with U.S. Congress is a fight with ourselves. We are all in this together. There is no us versus them, right? We are Americans. Right, the delegate office gave us a seat in Congress, but we were Americans long before that. The covenant guaranteed us that. We get and we are entitled to all the rights and privileges of every American citizen, whether we live out here or not. And that's the delegate's job, is to remind people holding the purse strings, remind Congress that we're out here, we have a big role, we've had a big role in history, and we are full-fledged Americans. With our own, absolutely our own unique cultural heritages that honestly would not be celebrated in any other country that I know of. America celebrates the heritages that we have, respects it, gives us the opportunity to negotiate for better standing. So, just a reminder: this is fighting them versus us, is fighting ourselves. That being said, it's important, I've said this before, it's important that we stay united, not just the candidates, but the community. Man, don't get so divisive over your candidates, right? As you can hear from the discussions today, we are all here with good intentions. We all want to serve you correct. We just need somebody that can sit in Congress and convince other members of Congress that we're worthy. It's not. Please don't divide ourselves against each other because of the candidates you support, right? I think this was echoed. I am absolutely honored to share this stage. I hope I get the chance to represent us in D.C. And that's really where I stand, man. I would like to see a lot of the divisive rhetoric slow down a bit, man. Let's focus on what it is that each of us has to offer. Come November, one of us is going to be the delegate, and we have to stand behind whoever that is. We don't have to look too far to, I won't even go into the peaceful transfer of power in our presidency, but we really are all in this together, and I absolutely feel like I can keep us united. I feel like I can negotiate everything that needs to be negotiated on our behalf for better prosperity in the CNMI. Again, My fellow candidates, I'm absolutely pleased to sit here with you guys. Thank you all for this opportunity. Thank you, SPJ. I appreciate everything.
Thank you all. That brings us to an end of this delegate forum. We want to express our utmost gratitude, Sizus Maasi, to all of you for coming, making time to inform our community about your platforms and about the race ahead of November. Remember to register and vote for the midterm election in November. CNMI SPJ is here to advocate for freedom of the press and for the First Amendment, and we're grateful for our partners here at KSPN 2 News Studio, behind the scenes, Ton Atalig and the crew here at KSPN, also our partners at Saipan Tribune, the Marianas Variety, NMI News Service, Brad Rosala doing double duty, also helping us with behind the scenes production, and of course, KUAM News, CNMI. We are here for you as your news outlets to serve you and ask the questions you want to get answered. Again, thank you to all of our candidates for joining us, and we'll see more coverage coming up in the weeks ahead. Thank you.